he is on the government's payroll there, but it makes you basically like a terrorist. Like you are an enemy of the state if you're boycotting Israel. It's just, yeah, it makes you laugh when you hear about it.
So why did you label him rabbi? So let's talk now about Rabbi Ferris. I don't follow that story close enough, but I do see you from time to time just trolling him on Twitter, and I find it entertaining. And I try to hear him out and see, like, what is this guy actually saying? So my understanding is that he tries to make the argument that boycotts don't really work, and he tries to use the explanation of like franchise, you're hurting a local business owner through a franchise. And actually, he's not the only person to think that. There are BDS activists actually who have said, oh, you shouldn't target Coca-Cola, even though they have factories in the West Bank in settlements, because really, if you boycott Coca-Cola in Morocco, you're hurting the franchisee owner in Morocco, and you're not actually affecting the corporation in the West Bank. So talk to us about Rabbi Ferris and how he's used, I guess, to usher in this era of normalization, and why his boycott argument is nonsense.
So Rabbi Ferris, he deserves the title of rabbi, as we'll see. I'll explain it. But basically, he's in the UAE. He is on the government's payroll there, literally, because you can't be a public preacher in UAE and some of these other states unless you have a license from the government. So whatever he says and preaches, you can assume is government approved, unless the next day he's in prison. So if he's not in prison, that means it's coming straight from the government. His initial position and what he announced, and he stood by that to this day, is that boycotting in itself is haram. Like, it's impermissible. And he announced this. At first he didn't localize it to, oh, this is hurting local businesses. He just meant in general, like, you shouldn't be boycotting, and he gave some stupid argument to justify that. And no one had heard of this ever before in the history of Islam. Like, you can make your own decision on what you buy or don't buy. And then he escalated the argument in a way too. He said that not only is it haram, but it also makes you a Khariji. Like, it makes you, and without going into the whole detail of who the Khawarij is, but it makes you basically like a terrorist. Like, you are an enemy of the state if you're boycotting Israel. It's just, yeah, it makes you laugh when you hear about it. And there are literally Zionist accounts who are tweeting him and saying, or retweeting rather, and saying that, oh, look, this imam is giving the fatwa that boycotting Israel is haram. So why aren't Muslims listening to their religious leadership? So even the Zionists were promoting this clown. And the thing is, he's not like a scholar. He's not an imam. He has a lot of followers on TikTok. But he was, as late as 2017, he was a CrossFit trainer. Like, he had a CrossFit gym.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's not like this religious scholar that has training. So he claims that I've studied with the scholars and whatever. Even if that is the case, like, very recently, like, your whole line of work was something completely different. Like, how did you transfer from CrossFit trainer to, da'i or like imam? So it's very shady anyway, that aside. But what he's saying is so patently ridiculous that boycotting makes you a potential terrorist. And he just keeps doubling down. He just keeps doubling down on this narrative. He laughs at the idea of boycotting, like making jokes about it. Like, he's been on like podcasts with like Starbucks, or someone else was drinking Starbucks, and they just have a good laugh. And that kind of attitude is so despicable. Like, as Muslims are dying, and Muslims around the world, people in general around the world, are trying to make a difference. They're trying to help, and you're laughing and mocking their efforts.
Right.
So he, and if he like personally believed that boycotting is wrong, or for his country it's wrong, that's fine. For him, it's just his mistake. But he's going out of his way to label Muslims around the world as terrorists for boycotting. So that tells you that it's not just a religious opinion. Like, he's politicized, and he's being, there's a bigger agenda that he is serving for him to go out and say that at such a sensitive, crucial time.
So why did you label him rabbi?
Yeah, I'm not saying that he's not a Muslim. I'm not doing takfir of him. But you get the title that you deserve when you've been serving the Zionist interest in this kind of outrageous way. And the boycott thing is only one thing. Like, he has a record, and I don't want to go through his whole history, but he has a record of statements that are shocking in this time. Like, he made comments making light of the death of Palestinians. He tweeted that, well, he didn't mention Palestinians specifically, but he said, like, well, in World War I, this many people died. In World War II, this many people died. People die. We move on with life. That kind of comment at the beginning of this war, Palestinian Muslims are being genocided, and you are flippant about it. He, has that kind of attitude. It's just disgusting.